Late this week in Hattiesburg, the Mississippi Forestry Association named its Outstanding Tree Farmer of the Year. For perhaps the first time ever, the winner can truly claim that tree farming has been his only job and the source of his income his whole life. But this story is about much more than income. It's about heritage and good stewardship of the land. Our feature story takes us to Columbia in southwest Mississippi. Russ and Barbara Ford's property south of Columbia, Mississippi in Marion County has been a registered tree farm for 55 years. The original tree farm certificate for the property is dated October 25, 1955. It was issued to Ernest R. Ford, who was the father of Russ Ford. Russ is a second-generation tree farmer whose only career his entire life has been trees.
He got a lot of the land from his dad. His dad had it from the 1940s, and he inherited a lot of it and bought some extra to add to it, which comprises of roughly 1,100 acres of tree farm. He makes his living off this land. He's never held a regular job. This is how he's made his living his whole life.
You know, we don't have a paycheck coming in from a 9-to-5 job that he has to go to. You know, when he sells timber, he has to be able to invest that and budget it back, rather than me. I would say, oh yeah, well, we can redo the kitchen, or we can do that. And he'll say, now, wait a minute, no, we can't do that. You know, we've got to put this away.
The Fords call their place River Farm. The name comes from the fact the western border of the tree farm in Marion County is formed by the Pearl River. Russ and Barbara Ford live on the property in the house Russ grew up in.
Russ always alludes that there's his house is built on a sand hill, which is great for building a home. You know, you don't have to worry about erosion or too much water getting in under your foundation and stuff like that. But at the same time, that same ridge goes through, and there's probably on the trees about 15 years old, there's as much as a 20-foot height difference. When you're off that on that sand ridge, they may be like 40 foot tall, and you get off it and they're up 60 foot tall. And so it's amazing what an impact the soils can have on how well your trees grow.
Mickey Webb has been the Ford's forestry consultant for 30 years. It was when Mickey started working with the couple in 1980 that the land was put under a written forest management plan. One component of that plan is making sure the species of tree being planted is compatible with the soil at a particular location on the farm.
But that's been a goal of Russ's all over his property. It's been to try and match the species to the soils. Across the road toward the Pearl River, he's got a large hardwood bottom, which unfortunately was badly destroyed by Katrina again. But we came back, planted about 3 different species of acorns, as well as took advantage of the regeneration that came up. You know, not trying to force a species, but grew what's natural to the ecology on the place. And that's been a real key for Russ.
Russ Ford does about 60% of the total field work on the tree farm all by himself. He calls this bulldozer one of his essential tools. He acquired it in 2004 and enjoys using it.
I wanted a narrow blade. This is a 9-foot blade, so I could go between my rows of trees. I wanted narrow tracks because I'm not going to work when it's real wet and all, so I didn't want the wide tracks to have to turn and do around, and it's more wear and tear on your undercarriage with a wider track. So I just found just the perfect one that I wanted.
Russ says his backhoe is the other essential piece of equipment on the tree farm. The Fords also have a couple of farm tractors, a 150-gallon sprayer, a dump truck, and numerous other items to help them take care of the work. Russ keeps their tree farm aesthetically pleasing by keeping all roads clear, bush-hogged, and well-maintained. The primary objective of the property is saw timber production. Education is another important use of the tree farm by the Fords, but not just for other tree farmers. An area garden club was scheduled to visit a few days after this video was recorded, and Barbara Ford had her talking points ready.
I think it's extremely important for them to see where that shelving board came from. It gives them an appreciation of when they go to the lumber store and buy that, they know that the tree farmer had to be paid, the logger had to be paid, the mill that did it had to be paid, and so it makes it a little bit less problematic on you to pay the cost of it because you know exactly what it took to produce it.
This area of the tree farm was the setting for another group's educational visit. It was one of 3 stops on the place by the Marion County Forestry Association during a field day in the spring of 2010. The educational focus here for other tree farmers was pine thinning.
When you've got a stand like this, of this age, there's several different ways that you can go. And so that was one of the points we wanted to make. We went ahead and measured all the trees that were in a particular plot, talked about how much volume we were carrying, and then we were looked at several different options. One of the options would be to thin again and to hold it. That certainly would be an option. And another option from a strictly economic standpoint, it's probably at economic maturity. So another option would be to take everything down, replant, start over.
This same stand was also a good example for the CFA of how the practice of prescribed burning helps achieve another objective of the tree farm, enhancing the habitat for deer and other wildlife.
Luscious vegetation closer to the ground after a burn, more readily available to browse on. I see some muscadine vines in here. I see some persimmon. Any of these type of plants after a burn comes back and it reduces the height of them, and when they sprout back they're more nutritious and more readily available for the wildlife to browse on.
Russ Ford also enhances the wildlife habitat on their tree farm by planting about 7 food plots like this every year. He includes favorable hardwood trees like the sawtooth oak at the plots.
We have a bunch of deer coming in here every year. I think we harvested 7 does last year at this spot.
These are sawtooth oak?
These are sawtooth oak. They're the gobbler head, the small acorn variety. They're making acorns now. They're about 6, 7 years old, something like that.
Russ has also planted pear trees in another location on the farm for wildlife to enjoy, and he has a large orchard of southern catalpa trees in the same spot. Russ also manages for endangered species on his tree farm. Numerous gopher tortoises are located on the property, and he takes care not to destroy their habitat. As far as other practices, he uses herbicides on a regular basis to control herbaceous competition on newly planted seedlings, such as this stand of 3-year-old longleaf pine. Best management practices, such as streamside management zones, are used on the tree farm at all times. This water feature on the property is called Clear Creek. It runs into the nearby Pearl River. In addition to water quality, recreation is another primary objective of the Ford's tree farm. This gravel pit lake on the property is Russ and Barbara's favorite place to relax. They even established a campground area alongside one portion of the scenic lake. Bird watching is another form of recreation that the couple enjoys on the tree farm every day.
You know, I have so many different types of birds: bluebirds, cardinals, tufted titmouse, the blue grosbeaks, the rose-breasted grosbeaks. You know, it's just such a pleasure to sit and watch what the Lord has provided for us to enjoy. And these birds are so vivid and their colors so wonderful. And Russ and I both enjoy sitting out there and watching them. And it's just truly a pleasure.
The Fords also raised a son on the tree farm. Will, now a college student, earned his Eagle Scout rank in high school by reclaiming the Pope family cemetery on the tree farm. It features the grave of a Civil War veteran. Here, Russ is sharing with Will the history of some Native American grinding rocks that were found on the tree farm. The Marion County Forestry Association that Russ is heavily involved in has the distinction of being the first CFA in Mississippi. The current president says Russ was instrumental in its formation in 1986.
It was started back then, and I think all but 2 years during that period of time he's been on our board of directors. I know for as long as I've been in it, Russ has been on the board, and I've served, this is my 3rd time to serve as president of our Marion County Forestry Association. And Russ has always been such a big help. We've had 2 field days on this tree farm, one in 1990 and the one this year. And Russ and Barbara, they've always opened their tree farm up to us.
Russ Ford has also been an active member of the Mississippi Forestry Association for over 25 years. His interest in promoting tree farming and in being a good steward of the land is obvious to both visitors and longtime associates.
He recognized he was blessed by his father, and so he has, he's enjoyed the income from it, but he hasn't been greedy about it. He's always made a point to reinvest back into it and practice good forestry. And it's neat to see him appreciating his heritage and being respectful and caring for it.
Russ Ford and his wife, Barbara, are excellent ambassadors for tree farming and well deserving of their recognition as Mississippi Tree Farmer of the Year. From Columbia, Mississippi, I'm Leighton Spann reporting. And go to our Farmweek website if you would like to see this story once again. That's farmweek.msucares.com. And if you're interested in managing your land for timber and wildlife, you can get in touch with the Mississippi State University Extension Service or the Mississippi Forestry Commission, and we'll have that contact information for both on our website. And any of these groups can get you in touch with a local CFA or County Forestry Association where you can learn more about managing your forest land. Once again, all of that at farmweek.msucares.com.